I took the job for the money. That's the first thing you need to understand. I'm not a hero, and I'm definitely not a ghost hunter. I'm a guy with $30,000 in student loans and a baby on the way. And when Palmetto County Sheriff's Department posted a recruitment ad offering a $95,000 starting salary for a night shift deputy, I didn't ask questions. I just signed. Most people think of Florida as beaches, theme parks, and retirees driving golf carts. But if you drive inland, away from the coast, past the manicured lawns of the suburbs, the state changes. It turns into something ancient. Miles of sawgrass, stagnant black water, and stretches of highway where the cypress trees hang over the road like skeletal fingers. The humidity out here doesn't just make you sweat. It feels like the air is trying to digest you. I transferred from Miami-Dade. I was used to gang violence, drug busts, the fast-paced chaos of the city. I thought rural policing would be a vacation. I thought I'd spend my nights writing speeding tickets to tourists and breaking up bar fights. Sheriff Morrison was the one who hired me. He's a man who looks like he was carved out of driftwood, leathery skin, eyes that have seen too much, and a permanent scent of stale tobacco and rain. On my first night, he didn't give me a tour of the station. He tossed a set of keys on his desk and a heavy leather-bound binder. It wasn't the standard issue field training officer manual. It was old. The cover was scratched and it smelled like mildew. "Welcome to the graveyard shift, Santos," Morrison said, not looking up from his paperwork. "Read the binder, memorize it, do not lose it, and for the love of God, do not deviate from it." I laughed. I actually laughed. I thought it was hazing. Every department has pranks for the rookie. In Miami, they'd send you looking for the keys to the Humvee or ask you to restock the blinker fluid. I figured this was the rural version. I opened the binder. The first page wasn't a code of conduct. It was a single sheet of yellow legal paper, laminated with the words "Mandatory Operational Protocols" typed in bold, courier font. I'm reading this to you now because I need someone else to know. If I go missing, or if my dash cam footage gets corrupted like the last guy's, I want there to be a record. Here are the rules for patrolling Palmetto County after sundown. Rule number 1, the radio dead zones. There are 3 distinct dead zones in the county where your radio will cut to static. One is on Highway 41 near the old phosphate mines. One is the stretch of logging road behind the state park. The third is anywhere within 1 mile of the Baptist Church on Sawgrass Road. If your radio cuts out, do not attempt to fix it. Do not hit the dashboard. Do not speak into the receiver. The static isn't interference, it's listening. If you speak, it learns your voice. If it learns your voice, it can mimic you. We had a dispatcher last year who swore she heard her husband calling for help on Channel 3. She drove out to find him. We never found her, but we found her patrol car idling in the middle of the road, all 4 doors wide open. Rule number 2, the roadkill. You will see animals on the road: armadillos, opossums, deer. If you hit something, you check it. That's state law. However, if you see a dog, specifically a large black dog with matted fur sitting in the middle of the lane, do not stop. Do not swerve. Accelerate. I know how that sounds. I'm an animal lover. But the thing on the road isn't a dog. If you stop the car, you'll realize it's much larger than a dog. You'll realize its limbs are too long and its joints bend backward. By the time you realize it has human hands instead of paws, it will be too late to lock your doors. Just hit it. It won't damage your bumper. It will turn into smoke the second you make impact. If you swerve, you will end up in the drainage ditch, and that is where they hunt. Rule number 3, the hitchhiker. Between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., you will see a girl in a yellow raincoat walking southbound on County Road 9. She will be soaked, regardless of whether it is raining. She will look distressingly young, maybe 16. She will have her thumb out. You are a police officer. Your instinct is to serve and protect. You have to fight that instinct. Drive past her. Look straight ahead. Do not look in your rearview mirror after you pass her. Sheriff Morrison told me about a deputy named Miller who stopped for her in 2018. He radioed in that he had a female juvenile in custody, likely a runaway. 3 minutes later, he radioed back screaming. He said she was melting. He said the water coming off her coat wasn't water, it was something acidic. When they found Miller's car, the back seat was dissolved. Just the metal springs were left. Miller was gone. Rule number 4, the Amber Alerts. If your phone or the dispatch computer issues an Amber Alert for a child named David with a description of eyes missing, turn off your electronics immediately. Pull over, wait 10 minutes. We don't have a missing child named David. We never have. The alert is a lure. It pings the location of anyone who opens the notification. If you acknowledge the alert, you are accepting an invitation. You do not want to attend that party. Rule number 5, the church. This is the one Morrison circled in red ink, the Palmetto Grove Baptist Church. It's been abandoned since Hurricane Andrew tore through here in '92. The roof is half collapsed and the windows are boarded up. Your patrol route takes you past it. You must drive past it at 35 miles per hour. Not slower, not faster. If you see lights inside, ignore them. If you hear choir music, roll up your windows. If you see the congregation standing on the front lawn, staring at your car, do not look at their faces. Morrison was specific about this. He said, "Santos, they look like people from a distance. They're wearing their Sunday best, suits, floral dresses, hats. But if you slow down to see their faces, you'll see that their features are smooth, like unfinished clay. And once you see that, they know you can see them. If you break down near the church, stay in the car. Lock the doors, put your gun in your mouth and pull the trigger. It is a better alternative to what the congregation does to outsiders." I finished reading the list and looked up at Morrison. He was staring at me, a lit cigarette dangling from his lip. "You think I'm messing with you?" he said. It wasn't a question. I told him yes. I told him it was a hell of a creative writing exercise, but I had work to do. He didn't argue. He just reached into his drawer and pulled out a Ziploc bag. Inside was a police badge, tarnished and bent, covered in a dark, crusty substance that looked like dried rust. "This belonged to Deputy Alvarez," Morrison said softly. "He thought it was a joke too. He tried to investigate the lights at the church last month. We found this on the steps. Just the badge." I took the badge. It was heavy, cold. I took the patrol car out that night. I told myself I was a rational man. I told myself that rural isolation makes people superstitious. Then, around 3 a.m., I was driving down County Road 9. My headlights cut through the thick, soupy fog. The silence was absolute, broken only by the hum of the engine and the whine of the tires on damp asphalt. Then I saw it. On the shoulder of the road, a splash of bright color against the gray mist. A girl in a yellow raincoat. She was walking southbound. She was soaking wet, water dripping from her hair, even though it hadn't rained in 3 days. My foot hovered over the brake. It was instinct. She looked so small, so helpless. I could see her shivering. I slowed down, watching her silhouette get larger in my windshield. I was about to pull over. I was about to roll down the window and ask if she was okay. Then I remembered rule number 3. I remembered Miller. I remembered the dissolved back seat. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. I clenched my jaw, forced my foot down on the gas, and swerved slightly to give her space. I didn't look at her face as I passed. I stared straight ahead at the white lines on the road. But as I passed her, I heard something. Through the glass, over the sound of the engine. It wasn't a voice. It was a sound, like wet meat slapping against pavement. I sped up. I hit 60, then 70. My eyes flicked up to the rearview mirror. I couldn't help it. It's a habit. The road behind me was empty. But in the back seat of my patrol car, reflected in the mirror, there was a puddle of water. And sitting in the puddle, just for a fraction of a second, I saw a hand. A small, pale hand, clutching the upholstery. I slammed on the brakes, spinning the car around, my hand flying to my holster. I turned around. The back seat was empty. dry, dusty. I sat there on the side of the road for 20 minutes, shaking so hard I couldn't hold my radio. That was 3 months ago. I'm still here. I'm still working the shift. The money is too good, and honestly, I'm afraid of what happens if I try to quit. Morrison told me once that the county doesn't like it when its servants leave. But last night, things changed. Last night, I found a new note in the binder. It wasn't typed. It was handwritten, scrawled in frantic, jagged letters on the back of the protocol sheet. It said, "They've changed the rules. The static isn't just on the radio anymore. It's in the station. Don't trust Morrison." I looked up at the sheriff's office window. The lights were off, but I could see a silhouette standing there, watching me. And even from the parking lot, I could see that its face was smooth, like unfinished clay. I'm Deputy Santos. I work in Palmetto County, and I think I'm the only human left on the night shift.
You think you know heat until you work a night shift in Palmetto County. It's not just the temperature, it's the humidity. It sits on your chest like a wet wool blanket. I transferred here from Miami-Dade 3 months ago. I was looking for quiet. I was looking for speeding tickets and domestic disputes. Instead, Sheriff Morrison handed me a 3-ring binder on my first night. It was stained with coffee and something that looked suspiciously like dried iron. He didn't say good luck. He didn't say welcome to the team. He flipped to page 42, tapped a section titled Special Operating Procedures, the Sawgrass sector, and told me to memorize it before I even turned the ignition key. I thought it was a hazing ritual, messing with the rookie. But then I saw the fear in his eyes. Morrison is a man who stared down cartels in the 80s, and his hand was shaking while he held that page open. These aren't suggestions. These are the rules meant to keep you alive when the pavement ends and the swamp begins. If you are listening to this and you find yourself driving south of Lewiston after sundown, you need to listen very carefully. Here are the rules for patrolling the First Baptist Church of Palmetto Grove. Rule number 1, the light check. The church has been abandoned since Hurricane Andrew tore the roof off in 1992. The county cut the power lines 3 decades ago. There is no electricity within 5 miles of that structure. However, if you are patrolling past the church between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., you will see light flickering inside. Specifically, you will see 13 white taper candles arranged in a perfect circle on the rotting altar. Do not investigate. Do not call maintenance. Standard procedure is to log the sighting as an electrical disturbance and keep driving. If you notice that the candles are fresh, if the wax hasn't dripped down the sides yet, you accelerate. It means they were just lit. It means whatever lit them is still in the room. Rule number 2, the audio paradox. If you receive a 911 call reporting screaming coming from the church, you must respond, but you must not exit your vehicle. When you arrive, the screaming will stop instantly. You will look through the broken stained glass windows. You will see shadows moving. The viral DNA of this place is wrong. You will see silhouettes of people inside, dozens of them. They will be swaying back and forth, mouths wide open, chests heaving, as if they are wailing in agony or singing a hymn at the top of their lungs. But you won't hear any sound. The silence will be heavier than the heat. If you see them singing, roll up your windows immediately. Lock the doors. The glass of your cruiser is the only thing separating their reality from yours. If you hear the singing start to leak through the glass, hum to yourself. Turn up the radio static. Do not let their frequency match yours. Rule number 3, the mirror prohibition. This is the one Morrison made me sign my initials next to. This is the one that saved my life last Tuesday. If you are parked in front of the church and you feel a sudden drop in temperature, or if the 13 candles extinguish all at once, you must leave. But you cannot simply drive away. You must put the cruiser in reverse. You must back up in a straight line for exactly 100 yards. While you are backing up, do not look in your rearview mirror. Do not check your side view mirrors. Do not turn your head to check your blind spot. You have to trust your gut and back up blind.
The things that occupy that church, they don't follow the laws of physics we understand. If you look in the mirror, you won't see the empty road behind you. You will see the back seat of your own car, and you will see who or what is sitting directly behind you, smiling. If you acknowledge them, if you make eye contact with their reflection, they are no longer outside the car, they are inside. Rule number 4, the clicking handle. While you are backing up, you will hear sounds. You will hear the wet slap of bare feet on pavement running alongside your door. You will hear knuckles rapping on the glass. Finally, you will hear the specific mechanical click of your driver's side door handle being pulled. It will sound like someone is standing right next to you, trying to open the door to drag you out. Do not look. Keep your eyes on the dashboard. Keep your hands on the wheel. The door is locked, but if you look at the handle, you give it permission to open. It's a test of will. They can't break the physical latch, but they can break your mind. If you look, you lose. Rule number 5, the cattail line. There is a specific patch of road where the asphalt changes color, marking the boundary of the cattail marsh. This is the safety line. The entities from the church cannot cross running water, and the marsh acts as a natural barrier. You will know you have crossed it because the heavy feeling in your chest will vanish. The radio static will clear. The sounds of the swamp, the crickets, the frogs will return. Once you cross the cattail line, pull over. Get out of the car. Check the roof and the trunk. You will find dents, massive, concave dents, as if someone took a sledgehammer to the steel, or, more accurately, as if bodies were throwing themselves onto your vehicle from above. Photograph the damage for the insurance report. Code it as falling debris. Morrison knows what it means. Rule number 6, the Sunday best. Occasionally, you will see a pedestrian walking towards the church during the day. They will be wearing clothes that look decades out of date. Suits from the 1990s, floral dresses that smell like mothballs and mildew. They will be walking in the middle of the road, heads bowed. Do not offer them a ride. Do not ask if they need help. These are the remnants of the 47 people who took shelter in that church during Hurricane Andrew. The floodwaters rose, the roof collapsed, and nobody came out. If you speak to them, they will look up. You don't want to see what the water did to their faces. You don't want to see the lack of eyes. Just drive around them. Give them a wide berth. They are just going to service. Rule number 7, the Amber Alert exception. If your phone buzzes with an Amber Alert while you are in the Sawgrass sector, read it carefully. If the license plate listed is your license plate, if the car description is your police cruiser, and the child described is someone you don't remember picking up, don't turn around. Don't stop the car. Drive straight to the station, walk into Morrison's office, and put your gun on the table. It means they've tagged you. It means you brought something back from the church, and the system knows it before you do. I used to think rules were meant to be broken. I used to think I was the law. But out here, in the deep Florida dark, we aren't the predators, we're the prey. And the only thing keeping us from joining the congregation in the First Baptist Church are these rules. Follow them, or you'll be the one lighting the 14th candle. You think you know Florida? You think it's all theme parks, neon nightlife on South Beach, and retirees driving golf carts in the villages. You have no idea what happens when the pavement ends and the swamp takes over. I'm a deputy sheriff in a county I won't name, nestled deep in the interior. We're talking about the space between the coasts, the parts of the map that look like nothing but green and blue static. I transferred here from Miami-Dade about 6 months ago. I wanted a slower pace. I wanted cheaper rent. I wanted to get away from the high-octane violence of the city. I made a mistake. In Miami, the threats were human. They had guns, knives, motives. You could reason with them, or at least predict them. Out here, in the Palmetto scrub, the things we deal with don't have motives. They just have hunger, and they have rules. This is the record of my night shift on Sector 4. I am writing this to document the protocols. If you ever find yourself driving through rural Florida after midnight and your GPS fails, pray you don't end up on my patrol route. The shift always starts the same. The briefing room smells like stale coffee and floor wax. But the sheriff, a man we'll call Miller, doesn't talk about drug busts or speeding tickets. He hands out the binder. It's a black 3-ring binder that looks like it's been chewed on by a gator. It contains the rules. Tonight, I was assigned the Sawgrass connector. It's a 20-mile stretch of 2-lane blacktop that cuts through a massive cypress dome. No streetlights, no gas stations, just the humidity and the hum of the cicadas. Rule number 1 of the connector: if the fog is yellow, turn around. If the fog is white, proceed, but do not exceed 45 miles per hour. If you go faster, they think you're running, and they like to chase. I rolled out of the station at 2200 hours. My cruiser is a standard issue Dodge Charger, but it's modified. We have reinforced glass and extra floodlights on the A-pillars. I didn't understand why until my first week. Now, I don't drive without them. The transition from the town limits to Sector 4 is jarring. It's what internet kids call a liminal space. The logic of the world just falls away. The sound of the tires on the asphalt changes from a hum to a sticky, wet, tearing sound. The air conditioning in the cruiser battles against the heat radiating off the swamp, creating a constant fog on the bottom of the windshield. I was about 6 miles in when the isolation hit me. It's a physical weight. You feel watched, not by an animal, but by the landscape itself. The Spanish moss hanging from the trees looks like rags from old dresses. The shadows stretch too long in the headlights. I was checking my mirrors every 10 seconds.
That's rule number 4. Maintain situational awareness, but never look at the back seat through the rearview mirror for longer than 2 seconds. If you stare, you might see who is sitting back there, and if you acknowledge them, they become solid. Around mile marker 12, I saw it, the anomaly for the night. It was an old roadside citrus stand, you know the kind, hand-painted signs promising honey bells and boiled peanuts. It had been abandoned since the mid-90s, the wood gray and rotting, but tonight, the strings of carnival lights strung up around the roof were on. They were buzzing with that angry, electric sound you hear near high-voltage lines. I slowed down. My training told me to investigate. Maybe it was squatters, maybe meth cooks, but my gut, the part of me that was learning the rhythm of this county, screamed at me to keep driving. I pulled over to the shoulder, keeping the engine running. The protocol for lit structures that shouldn't have power is specific. Rule number 9, do not exit the vehicle unless you hear a scream. If there is silence, stay inside. I rolled down the window just an inch. The air smelled of ozone and rotting oranges. It was thick, cloying. And it was silent. That was the worst part. The swamp is never silent. There are always frogs, crickets, distant thunder, but here, under the glow of those impossible lights, there was zero sound. It was like the world had been muted. I shined my spotlight at the stand. Standing behind the counter were 3 figures. My heart hammered against my ribs. They were mannequins, old, chipped fiberglass mannequins dressed in tourist clothes, Hawaiian shirts, straw hats. They were posed as if they were selling fruit. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Just mannequins, probably a prank by high school kids. I grabbed my radio mic. Dispatch, this is Unit 4 Alpha. I have suspicious activity at the old Miller citrus stand. Lights are on, mannequins present. Static. Not normal static. It sounded like a voice screaming from underwater. Dispatch, repeat. Nothing but that wet, gurgling static. I looked back at the stand. There were 4 mannequins now. I blinked. My brain tried to rationalize it. I must have miscounted. The shadows were playing tricks. The 4th one was standing in front of the counter, back to me. It was wearing a yellow raincoat. I felt a cold sweat break out on the back of my neck. I remembered the sheriff's warning from my first day. If the scenery changes when you blink, don't blink again. I kept my eyes peeled open, tears starting to form from the strain. I reached for the spotlight handle to sweep the area, looking for the pranksters. As the beam of light cut across the gravel lot, I saw the faces of the 3 original mannequins. They were smiling.
but the paint was cracked and the smiles were too wide. They were looking directly at my car. The one in the yellow raincoat slowly turned its head. It didn't pivot like a human. It ratcheted, jerky movements. Tick, tick, tick. It wasn't a mannequin. The face was smooth, featureless plastic, but underneath the collar of the raincoat, I saw wet, pulsing skin. My hand flew to the gear shift. I needed to leave, now. Then the radio crackled to life. It wasn't dispatch. It was a voice I recognized. It was Sheriff Miller, but he sounded tired, distant, like he was speaking from a recorded tape. Unit 4 Alpha, do not engage. Do not turn on your siren. Roll up your window. Lock the doors. Look at your dashboard clock. I followed the order instantly. Window up. Lock engaged. I looked at the clock. It read 00. It had been 22:45 just a moment ago. I had lost over an hour staring at that fruit stand. Put the car in reverse, Santos, the sheriff's voice crackled. Do not turn the car around. Back up until you hit the pavement change. Do it now. I threw the Charger into reverse. The backup camera flickered on the dashboard screen. My blood ran cold. On the screen, I could see the rear of my car. Standing right against my bumper, so close their stomachs were pressed against the trunk, were a dozen of them. Mannequins. In suits, in dresses, in work clothes. They were all facing the camera. They weren't moving, but every time the camera refreshed, every fraction of a second, they were closer to the rear glass. I slammed on the gas, reversing blindly down the pitch-black highway. The engine roared, whining in protest. I watched the camera feed. As I picked up speed, they didn't run. They just slid. They glided over the asphalt without moving their legs, keeping pace with the car. I could hear thumping on the trunk. Thud, 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 like heavy, wet bags of sand being thrown against the metal. I hit 40 miles per hour in reverse. The steering wheel was shaking in my hands. I couldn't look forward to see if I was drifting off the road. I was mesmerized by the horror on the screen. One of them, a figure in a 1950s prom dress, reached out a plastic hand and touched the camera lens. The screen went black. Then came the sound. Click. My door handle, the driver's side door handle. Someone pulled it. I screamed. It was a reflex. I grabbed my service weapon, leveling it at the window. But there was nothing there, just the dark, humid night rushing past. The handle clicked again, more violently this time. The lock pin wiggled. The door frame groaned under immense pressure, like a hydraulic press was squeezing the vehicle. Get to the pavement change, I whispered to myself. Get to the pavement change. The transition back to the main county road is marked by a shift from old gray asphalt to newer blacktop. I felt the bump in the suspension. The pressure on the car vanished instantly. The silence broke. The sound of crickets, the hum of the tires, the static on the radio, it all came rushing back in a deafening wave. I spun the car around, tires screeching, and floored it back toward town. I didn't stop until I was under the harsh sodium lights of a 24-hour gas station 10 miles away. I got out of the car, my legs shaking so bad I almost collapsed. I walked to the back of the cruiser. The trunk was dented, massive concave depressions like someone had taken a sledgehammer to it. And all over the back bumper, there was a residue. It wasn't mud. It was a sticky orange sap that smelled like formaldehyde. I went back to the station at the end of the shift. I walked into Miller's office and dropped the keys on his desk. Sector 4? He asked, not looking up from his paperwork. The citrus stand, I said. My voice sounded hollow. Miller nodded. He opened the bottom drawer of his desk and pulled out a bottle of whiskey. He poured 2 shots. That stand burned down in '98, Miller said. Owner went crazy, locked his family inside and lit a match. Said he was trying to turn them into something permanent. something that wouldn't rot in the heat. I downed the whiskey. It burned, but it didn't take away the chill in my bones. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "Because the rules only work if you believe them," Miller said. "And you can't believe them until you see why they exist. You passed, Santos. You didn't open the door. You didn't look them in the eyes for too long." He handed me the binder again. "Study up," he said. "Tomorrow night you've got the Amber Alert Patrol. And let me tell you, out here, the Amber Alerts don't come from phones. They come from the cornfields." I took the binder. I'm still working here. I have bills to pay, and honestly, now that I know the truth, I'm afraid to leave. I'm afraid that if I try to cross the county line, I might find that the road just loops back around to that citrus stand. So listen to me. If you're in Florida and you see a roadside attraction that looks a little too pristine, a little too bright for the middle of nowhere, keep driving. Don't look at the figures in the window. And for the love of God, if your door handle clicks, don't look to see who's pulling it. Just drive.
I never believed in ghosts. I was a Miami-Dade cop for 6 years. I dealt with cartel runners, methed-out junkies, and domestic disputes that ended in gunfire. I dealt with flesh and blood, things that bled when you shot them, things that stopped moving when you put cuffs on them. I transferred to Palmetto County for the quiet, for the pension, for the fishing. I didn't know about the rules then. I'm recording this because the rookie, Jenkins, just asked about the church on Sawgrass Road. He laughed about it, said it was just teenagers smoking pot. I need to get this down on tape so when he listens to it, he understands. You don't go to the First Baptist Church of Palmetto Grove after sunset. And if you do, if you are stupid enough to end up there when the sun dips below the cypress trees, you follow the protocol. You don't ask why, you just do it. Let me tell you about the night I breached protocol, the night I looked back. It was my 3rd month on the job, a Tuesday. The radio was quiet, just the low hum of the static and the relentless drone of cicadas outside the cruiser. The air conditioning in my unit was fighting a losing battle against the Florida humidity. Even at 2 a.m., the air felt like hot soup. I got a call from dispatch, not the usual calm voice of Sarah. It was Sheriff Morrison directly. That should have been my first red flag. Morrison didn't work nights. He told me there were reports of lights at the old church, the abandoned one past the cattail swamp line. He sounded tired, or maybe tight, like he was clenching his jaw. "Check it out, Santos. Do a drive-by. Do not get out of the car." That was the order. I drove south. The paved road ended 5 miles out of town, turning into crushed shell and dirt. The Sawgrass Road. The trees out there aren't like the palm trees in the postcards. They are ancient oaks, draped in Spanish moss, that hangs down like dead gray hair. In the headlights, they look like bony fingers reaching for the roof of the car. I lost cell service at the mile marker. The GPS on the dash went dead. Just me and the dark. I saw the glow before I saw the building. Soft, flickering yellow light spilling out through the broken stained glass windows. I pulled up to the front gate. The chain was rusted shut, but the church stood about 50 yards back. It was a wooden structure, rotting, leaning slightly to the left. The paint had peeled away decades ago, leaving it gray and skeletal against the black sky. I killed the headlights. I wanted the element of surprise. I looked at the windows. Inside, I could see them. Candles. 13 of them. I counted them specifically because it seemed so deliberate. They were tall, white taper candles, arranged in a perfect circle on the old altar. They were all burning at the same height, fresh wax, no wind flickering the flames. But that wasn't what made my hand drift to my holster. It was the shadows. Between the candlelight and the window, shapes were moving, silhouettes. I squinted, leaning forward against the steering wheel. There were too many of them to count, dozens, maybe 50. They were packed into the pews. But there was no sound. I rolled down my window. The swamp was loud, frogs, crickets, the splash of gators in the distance. But from the church, absolute silence.
The figures inside were swaying, left to right, a unified rhythmic motion, like a choir singing a hymn, but there was no music. They were singing in silence. Logic kicked in. My Miami brain took over. Cult, squatters, kids on drugs. I grabbed the radio mic. Dispatch, this is Unit 4. I've got activity at the church, multiple subjects inside. Appears to be some kind of gathering. I'm going to investigate. The radio static screamed, and then Morrison's voice cut through, loud and distorted. Unit 4, copy. Listen to me very carefully. Do not exit the vehicle. Put the car in reverse. Leave, now. I hesitated. Sheriff, there are at least 50 people in there. If this is a cult ritual, we need to… Santos, Morrison screamed. It was a sound I'd never heard from a grown man. It was pure, unfiltered panic. Get out of there. If they come out, do not look at their faces. And that's when I broke the first rule. I let my curiosity override the order. I didn't put it in reverse. I stared at the window. The swaying stopped. All at once, 50 silhouettes froze. Then the candles went out. Not one by one. All 13 flames were extinguished simultaneously, as if someone had flipped a switch. The church plunged into total darkness. I sat there, my heart hammering against my ribs. My eyes tried to adjust to the sudden blackness. Then I heard it. Click. It came from right beside me. Click, click. I froze. My blood turned to ice water. It was the door handle. My door handle. The driver's side. Someone was pulling on the handle, trying to open my door. I whipped my head to the left, my hand ripping my Glock from the holster. I was ready to fire point blank through the glass. But there was no one there. I was looking straight through the window at the empty churchyard. The moon had come out from behind a cloud, illuminating the crushed shell driveway. I could see the ground clearly. There was absolutely no one standing next to my car. Click, click, click. The handle jerked up and down violently. The metal mechanism grinded. I wasn't seeing things. The door was physically moving. The lock pin was shaking.
Something was standing inches from my face, separated only by a layer of safety glass, trying to get in, and I couldn't see it. The sheriff's voice burst over the radio again, breathless. Santos, report. Sheriff, someone's at my door. I can't see them. I can't see them, Sheriff. Listen to me. Morrison's voice was shaking. Put the car in reverse. Do not turn on your headlights. Back up, keep the wheel straight, and whatever you do, Santos, do not look in your mirrors. Why? I stammered, my hand trembling on the shifter. Because they are in the back seat now, Morrison whispered. If you look in the mirror, you'll see them, and if you see them, they can touch you. The air inside the car dropped 20 degrees in a second. My breath fogged in front of me. The smell hit me then, not the swamp smell. It was the smell of stagnation, old water, rotting flowers, the smell of a funeral home that had lost power for a week. I felt a weight settle onto the back seat. The springs of the patrol car creaked. I didn't look. I swear to God, I wanted to. Every instinct in my body screamed at me to check the rearview mirror, to see who was sitting behind me, to see what was breathing that cold, wet air down the back of my neck. I slammed the car into reverse. I stomped on the gas. The tires spun on the loose shells, kicking up dust, and then caught traction. The cruiser shot backward. I kept my eyes locked forward, staring at the windshield, staring at the hood of the car. I refused to look at the side mirrors. I refused to look up at the rear view. But I could hear them. It wasn't silence anymore. From the back seat, I heard the wet sound of lips parting. I heard the rustle of fabric, Sunday best, stiff, starched fabric moving against the vinyl seats. And then a whisper, right in my ear. Why are you leaving, Miguel? It knew my name. It wasn't a human voice. It sounded like dirt sliding down a grave. It sounded like 50 voices layered on top of each other, whispered through a mouthful of mud. "Turn around, Miguel. Look at us." I gritted my teeth so hard I thought they would crack. I kept the wheel straight. The car was doing 40 in reverse. The suspension rocked as I hit ruts in the dirt road. "Look at us," the voice shrieked. It wasn't a whisper anymore. It was a scream, a shriek of pure rage that vibrated inside my skull. Something slammed against the partition. Bam! I flinched, the steering wheel jerking in my hand. The car swerved. My eyes darted to the side mirror reflexively. Just for a microsecond, I saw it. In the red glow of the taillights reflecting off the dust, I saw them. They weren't inside the car. They were running alongside it. Dozens of them, men in suits that didn't fit.
Women in floral dresses that hung off their skeletal frames. Children. They were keeping pace with the car, running backward on all fours, their limbs twisted at impossible angles. Their heads were upside down, chins pointing to the sky, eyes wide and white, staring at me. And they were smiling. Their mouths were stretched too wide, too many teeth. I screamed. I couldn't help it. I slammed the accelerator to the floor. The engine roared. The car was fishtailing now. I was losing control. "Don't look," Morrison yelled over the radio. "Get across the bridge. Get to the cattail line." I tore my eyes away from the mirror. I stared forward. Bam! Something heavy landed on the roof of the car. The metal buckled inward. A massive dent appeared right above my head. Another thud, then another. They were jumping on the car. The claws, I could hear them dragging across the metal roof, screeching like nails on a chalkboard. They were trying to find a way in. The windshield cracked. A spiderweb fracture started at the top corner and shot down. "Look at me," the voice screamed from the back seat. "Look at me, Miguel." I felt a cold hand brush against my neck. It was physically there, freezing, wet. I screamed, swatting at my neck, but I didn't turn around. I knew if I turned my head, if I made eye contact with whatever was sitting in that back seat, I would never leave this road. I saw the bridge coming up in the reverse camera screen on the dash, the only thing I dared to look at. The little digital screen showed the wooden planks of the Cattail Creek Bridge. "Hold on," I whispered to myself. I hit the bridge doing 50 miles an hour in reverse. The car went airborne for a split second as I hit the lip of the ramp. We slammed down hard. The suspension bottomed out. Sparks flew. I kept going. 10 yards, 20 yards, 50 yards. And then, it stopped. The weight vanished from the back seat. The cold air dissipated, replaced instantly by the muggy Florida heat. The screeching on the roof silenced. I slammed on the brakes, spinning the wheel to whip the car around, a J-turn, just like they taught us in evasive driving. I faced the car forward. My headlights cut through the darkness. I was on the paved road now, the safe side of the Cattail Creek. I sat there, idling. My hands were shaking so bad I couldn't unclip my seatbelt. My chest was heaving. I gasped for air, tasting bile in the back of my throat. I looked at the rearview mirror. Empty. Just the empty vinyl seat. I looked out the windshield. At the edge of the bridge, exactly where the pavement turned to dirt, they stood. A line of them, pale figures in the moonlight, standing perfectly still. They weren't screaming anymore. They weren't running. They were just watching.
And then, the one in the center, a woman in a torn blue dress, raised a hand. She waved, a slow, stiff wave. I didn't wave back. I put the car in drive and I floored it. I didn't stop until I hit the lights of the 24-hour gas station in town. I inspected the car under the fluorescent lights of the station canopy. There were handprints all over the dust on the cruiser, but they weren't human handprints. The fingers were too long, 5 fingers, but 2 extra joints in each one. And the roof was caved in, deep dents, like someone had taken a sledgehammer to it. But the worst part was the inside of the car. On the inside of the windshield, right in front of the driver's seat, there was a handprint. On the inside. Whatever had been sitting in the back seat, it had reached forward. It had been inches from my face. I radioed Morrison. "I'm out," I said. My voice sounded hollow. "Copy that, Santos," Morrison replied. His voice was back to the gruff, steady tone of the sheriff. "Bring it in, we'll swap out the cruiser. Tell the mechanic you hit a deer." "A deer?" I laughed. It was a hysterical, broken sound. "A deer did this?" "Just follow the protocol, Santos," Morrison said. "Write the report. You hit a deer." And Santos? "Yeah? Welcome to Palmetto County." That was 6 months ago. I still work the night shift. I still patrol these roads. But I have a new rule now, my own rule. If I'm driving down Sawgrass Road and I see a light in that church, I don't stop, I don't look, I turn up the radio and I drive. Because sometimes, late at night, when I look in my rearview mirror, I see a smudge on the glass, right where that handprint was. And sometimes, just for a second, I see eyes in the back seat. So to the new guys, listen to me. Listen to the rules. If the sheriff tells you to back up, you back up. And for the love of God, don't look in the mirror.
I am writing this on my notepad in the dark. If you find this and the ink is smeared with sweat or blood, do not look for me. Just take the notebook and drive. Drive until you hit the interstate. My name is Deputy Miguel Santos. I transferred to Palmetto County 3 months ago, thinking it was a quiet retirement gig. I was wrong. I am currently crouched inside the hollowed-out trunk of a massive cypress tree, waist-deep in the stagnant muck of the cattail swamp. My cruiser is dead. The electrical system fried the moment I crossed the property line of that damned church on Sawgrass Road. I need to tell you about the silence. That's the first thing Morrison warned me about, but you don't understand it until it swallows you. Florida swamps are loud. They are a cacophony of life. Cicadas screaming like buzzsaws, bullfrogs croaking, the splash of gators, the hum of a billion mosquitoes. It is a wall of sound. But 10 minutes ago, the wall fell. The silence here is heavy. It presses against your eardrums. It's a vacuum. And that's how I knew the rules had started. I'm going to transcribe exactly what happened and exactly what I'm doing to survive, because Morrison's voice is the only thing keeping me from screaming. And if I scream, I die. Rule number 1, when the swamp goes quiet, you are trespassing. Rule number 2, if the vehicle stalls, do not attempt to restart it. Get out, get low, become part of the scenery. I am holding my breath, my chest burns. Through the rot of the cypress wood, I can see the church, the First Baptist Church of Palmetto Grove. It's exactly as the file described, ruins from Hurricane Andrew. The roof is half gone, like a rib cage exposed to the sky. And inside, the candles. 13 of them, just like the reports. I can see the flickering orange light spilling out through the shattered stained glass. It's not electric light, it's fire. It dances. But there is no wind. The air is dead still. The humidity is at 100%, thick enough to drown in, yet those candles are burning bright and steady. Something is moving between the trees. I need to focus on the protocol. Sheriff Morrison grabbed my vest before I left the station tonight. He looked me in the eye, a man who has seen things that turned his hair white in his 30s, and he told me, "Santos, if you get stuck out there, you play hide and seek, but you are not the seeker. You are the hider, and they don't play fair." Snap. A twig broke, close, maybe 20 feet to my left. I slowly turn my head, my neck creaks. I flinch, praying the sound didn't carry. There is a shape standing in the sawgrass. It's wearing Sunday clothes, a slightly yellowed dress shirt, suspenders, dark slacks. It looks like an old man, maybe in his 70s. He's standing perfectly still, facing away from me, looking toward the church. But the proportions are wrong. This is the viral DNA of this place, the uncanny valley. The things that look human until you focus. His arms, they are too long. The sleeves of the dress shirt end at his wrists, but his hands hang down past his knees.
Pale, gray fingers that look like wet clay. They are twitching, not shaking from age, but twitching with independent rhythm, like sea anemones testing the current. He is swaying, back and forth, back and forth. I remember the briefing. If you see them, Santos, do not look at their faces. Whatever you do not look at their faces. I lower my eyes. I stare at the muddy water swirling around my boots. There are leeches latching onto my calf. I can feel them. I don't care. The pain is grounding. It reminds me I'm real. The swaying man takes a step. It's a wet, sucking sound as his dress shoe pulls out of the mud. Then another step. He isn't walking toward the church anymore. He's walking in a widening circle. He's patrolling. Then I hear it. The sound that made my blood turn to ice. Click. It's the sound of a car door handle. My cruiser is 50 yards back on the dirt road. Something is trying to open my door. I risk a glance. Through the Spanish moss, I see my patrol car. The light bar is dead. The headlights are dead, but I can see them. There are dozens of them. A congregation. Men in suits, women in floral dresses that look like they're from the 1990s, children in little sailor outfits. They are swarming my car, but they aren't attacking it. They are caressing it. Their long, clay-like fingers are sliding over the metal, testing the windows, feeling the rubber of the tires. They move in unison. When one tilts its head, they all tilt their heads. It's like watching a school of fish or a flock of starlings, a hive mind. One of the women is standing by the driver's side door. She's leaning down, her face pressed against the glass, peering inside. I can't see her face clearly from here, and I thank God for that. But I can see the condensation from her breath on the glass. They breathe. That's a detail Morrison forgot to mention. They breathe. The radio in my cruiser suddenly crackles to life. It shouldn't be possible. The battery is dead. But static erupts from the open window of the car, tearing through the silence of the swamp. Santos, come in. Santos. It's Morrison's voice. My hand instinctively reaches for the radio on my shoulder. I almost key the mic. Stop. My brain slams on the brakes. That's not Morrison. The cadence is wrong. It's too flat. It sounds like a recording of Morrison being played back at 90% speed. We see you, Santos. Come out. The voice coming from the radio changes. It morphs. It's no longer Morrison. It sounds like me. It's my voice, panicked, screaming, looped and distorted. Help me! Oh God, help me! The figures around the car stop moving. All of them. 50 entities in Sunday best, freezing instantly like statues. They slowly turn their heads, not toward the car, toward the cypress tree, toward me. They heard my heart rate spike. I swear to you, they can hear the adrenaline hitting my bloodstream. Rule number 3. If you are detected, break line of sight immediately. Do not run in a straight line. I slide deeper into the hollow trunk. The water is up to my chest now. It smells of sulfur and old decay. I pull my knees up, curling into a ball. I am a stone. I am a log. I am nothing. Splash, splash, splash. They are coming. Not running. Walking. A casual, confident stride. The sound of dozens of feet moving through the water. It sounds like a flash flood. I close my eyes. I press my hands over my ears, but I can still hear the wet footsteps getting closer. 30 yards, 20 yards, 10 yards. The smell hits me first. It's not the swamp smell. It's the smell of ozone and funeral flowers, lilies and formaldehyde. It's overpowering. It makes my eyes water. The footsteps stop. They are right outside the tree. I can feel their body heat. It's not warm. It's cold.
a radiating chill that drops the temperature in the hollow trunk by 10 degrees. Something taps on the wood of the tree, inches from my head. Tap, 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 rhythmic, playful. A voice whispers from the other side of the wood. It sounds like a child, a little girl. Ollie, ollie, oxen free. My lungs are burning. I need to exhale. I cannot exhale. If I breathe, the sound will give me away. I know you're in there, Mr. Policeman. The voice changes. It drops an octave. It becomes a guttural, grinding sound, like stones rubbing together. Look at me. The command vibrates in my skull. It's a psychic compulsion. Every nerve in my body wants to open my eyes, to stand up, to look at the face of the thing outside. The urge is nauseating. It's like the call of the void when you stand on a high ledge. I bite my tongue, hard. The copper taste of blood fills my mouth. The pain breaks the trance. Rule number 4. They cannot enter a closed space unless invited or acknowledged. I keep my eyes shut. I recite the Lord's Prayer in my head, over and over. Not because I'm religious, but because I need a rhythm to counter their swaying. Tap, tap, tap. Look at me. Tap, tap, tap. Open your eyes, Miguel. It knows my first name. Something wet slides through a crack in the wood. It touches my shoulder. It feels like a slimy, cold root. It coils around my epaulette. It's testing, probing.
I remain a statue. I do not flinch. I do not breathe. I am dead. I am just another piece of rotting wood in the swamp. The finger, if that's what it is, retracts. There is a long, heavy sigh, a sound of disappointment. Then the splashing resumes, but it's moving away. Splash, splash, splash. They are leaving. They are heading back toward the church. The candles are calling them. The ritual must continue. I wait. I wait until my lungs are screaming, until black spots dance behind my eyelids. Finally, I let out a microscopic breath. I am still here, but I am not safe. I have to move. I have to make it back to the main road. That is 3 miles of swamp, in the dark, with things that can mimic my voice and see in the dark. I'm writing this now because I need to stabilize my hands. They are shaking so bad I can barely hold the pen. If you are a deputy in a rural county, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, and you get a call about lights in an abandoned church, don't go. Morrison told me the rules, but he didn't tell me the most important one. He didn't tell me what happens when the candles burn out. I can see the church through the crack in the wood again. One of the candles just flickered and died. 12 left. When the last one goes out, I don't think hide and seek applies anymore. I think the game changes to tag. And I'm it. I'm moving now. If I make it to the road, I'll burn this notebook. If you're reading this, I didn't make it. Don't look at the mirrors in your car. Don't look at the back seat. Just drive.
I never knew silence could be so loud until I crossed the county line back onto the pavement of Sawgrass Road. The hum of the tires on asphalt usually calms me down. It's the sound of civilization, of order. But tonight, it just sounded like static filling the void where my sanity used to be. My hands were gripping the steering wheels so hard, my knuckles had turned the color of old bone. I didn't dare look in the rearview mirror. Morrison's voice was still ringing in my ears. Don't look at the mirrors. Don't check the blind spot. Just drive. I pulled the cruiser into the precinct at 4:30. The sodium vapor lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in that sick, jaundiced orange glow. It felt less like a police station and more like a quarantine zone. I sat in the car for a full 5 minutes, listening to the engine tick as it cooled. I needed to muster the courage to open the door. I needed to check the damage. When I finally stepped out, my legs felt like gelatin.
The humid Florida air hit me, thick with the smell of swamp muck and ozone. I walked around to the passenger side. There were handprints, dozens of them, but they weren't made of dirt or grease. They were depressions in the metal, pushed inwards from the outside, like the steel had turned to clay under the pressure of invisible fingers. They were small, child-sized, and there was that dent on the roof Morrison had warned me about. Something heavy had landed there, something that didn't obey the laws of physics. I walked into the station. The air conditioning was set to freezing, a stark contrast to the muggy hell outside. Sheriff Morrison was sitting at the front desk, not in his office. He was cleaning a shotgun, rhythmically, methodically. He didn't look up when I walked in. He just pointed to a clipboard on the counter. It wasn't the standard incident report log. It was a black binder with no label. "You made it back, Santos," he said, his voice devoid of emotion. "Most transfers don't make it back from the church on their first night. Sign the log. Date, time, and verify your biological status." Verify my biological status? I wanted to laugh, I wanted to scream, but I just picked up the pen. My hand shook so bad I could barely write. I looked at the entry above mine. Deputy Miller. Status? Terminated. Cause? Looked back. Morrison finally looked up. His eyes were bloodshot, rimmed with dark circles that looked like bruises. "Listen to me carefully, Santos. The shift doesn't end when you clock out. There is a decompression protocol. If you skip a step, you bring them home with you. And if you bring them home, there is nothing I can do to help you. Do you understand?" I nodded. I was too tired to speak. "Rule number 1, Morrison said, sliding a plastic bin across the counter. Strip. Everything goes in here. Uniform, badge, boots, socks, everything. We incinerate the clothes worn to the Palmetto Grove Church. The fabric absorbs. Residue. You don't want that residue in your washing machine. You don't want it touching your wife's laundry." I did as I was told. Standing there in my boxers in the lobby of a sheriff's station should have felt humiliating. Instead, it felt like a medical necessity. I felt contaminated. "Rule number 2, he continued, handing me a bottle of what smelled like industrial-grade vinegar mixed with sulfur. "Scrub your hands, your neck, and behind your ears. They like to whisper. If you don't wash it off, you'll hear them when you try to sleep. You'll hear them asking to be let in." I scrubbed until my skin was raw and red. The smell was stinging my eyes, but beneath the chemical burn, I could still smell the swamp. It was stuck in my nostrils. "Rule number 3, Morrison said, his voice dropping to a whisper. Go home. Do not stop for gas. Do not stop for food. If you see a car broken down on the side of the road, keep driving. If you see a stray dog with eyes that reflect red instead of green, speed up. And for the love of God, Santos, when you get into your personal vehicle, turn the radio to a static channel. White noise scrambles their frequency. If you listen to music, they can hide in the lyrics." I grabbed my civilian clothes from my locker. I moved like a robot. Get dressed. Keys, phone, wallet, leave. Walking to my personal truck felt like walking a gauntlet. The parking lot was empty, but the shadows between the streetlights seemed to stretch toward me. I got in, locked the doors instantly, and turned the radio to AM 530. Static, hissing, safe. The drive home was a blur. Every mailbox looked like a person hunching over. Every rustle of the palmetto bushes looked like those Sunday clothes coming out of the dark. I kept my eyes fixed on the white lines of the road. Morrison's rules were bouncing around my skull. Don't look in the mirrors. I was 3 miles from my house when my phone buzzed. An Amber Alert. That agonizing, jarring sound that cuts through everything. I glanced at the screen. Amber Alert. Palmetto County. Child abducted. Victim. Miguel Santos. Age 9. Last seen, Sawgrass Road Church. My blood turned to ice. Miguel Santos. That's my name. But I'm 32. I'm not 9. I haven't been 9 since 1999. The phone buzzed again. Same alert. I threw the phone onto the passenger seat like it was a venomous snake. Was this a glitch? Or was it them? Playing with me?
I pulled into my driveway. My house looked normal. The porch light was on. My wife's car was in the driveway. It was the picture of suburban safety. But as I turned off the ignition, the static on the radio changed.
It wasn't just white noise anymore. Through the hiss, I heard a voice, clear as day. It was my own voice, but it sounded younger, terrified. "Help me, it's dark. The candles went out. Why didn't you look back?" I ripped the keys out of the ignition and scrambled out of the truck. I ran to my front door, fumbling with the keys, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I got inside, slammed the door, and threw the deadbolt, then the chain, then the bottom lock. I leaned against the door, sliding down until I hit the floor. I was safe. I was home. I checked the time, 5:15 a.m. The sun would be up soon. They can't do anything in the sunlight. That's the logic, right? That's the rule. I walked into the kitchen to pour a glass of water. My hands were still shaking. I raised the glass to my lips and froze. On the kitchen table, sitting right in the center, was a candle. A white taper candle, unlit. My wife doesn't buy taper candles. She likes those jar candles that smell like vanilla or linen. This was an old wax candle, like something you'd find in a church. I stared at it. Beside the candle was a note, written on the back of a grocery receipt. The handwriting was scratchy, jagged. It wasn't my wife's handwriting. It wasn't mine. "You forgot to wash behind your left ear, deputy." I reached up. I touched the skin behind my left ear. It was sticky, wet. I smelled my fingers. Swamp water. I didn't scream. I couldn't. The logic part of my brain, the part that Morrison tried to drill into me, finally shattered. I realized then that the rules aren't there to keep us safe. The rules are just there to give us a head start. I'm writing this now on my laptop, sitting in the corner of the living room with all the lights on. I have my service weapon on the table, but I know it won't do any good. I can hear scratching on the windows, not outside, inside, between the panes of glass. I survived the night shift. I survived the church. I survived the drive home. But I don't think I survived the clock out. If you are listening to this and you're driving through rural Florida and you see a deputy sheriff standing on the side of the road near a church looking lost, don't stop. Don't help him. Because that's not me. I'm still in here. And I think the candles are about to be lit again. This is Deputy Miguel Santos, signing off. 1042, forever.